Hey everyone, welcome to another week of Served. It's producer Mike's absolute favorite type of episode when we're in like the third round of a Masters series on like a random Tuesday, because we've played two tournaments in a month, or we will play two tournaments in a month leading into the French Open. You love that, don't you?
It's great. There's so many topics that come out of this, and so much finality. I mean, there's matches playing right now. We're instantly outdated.
It's great. We can like spend a half hour breaking down Sinner and Navone and Alcaraz and Jera.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I think the biggest thing where it's like a kind of a surprising question mark is Iga. And not because listen, she makes the semis in Madrid. Most people are pumped about that, right? She's made the quarters before she lost in Rome to Danielle Collins. She made the quarters of every event she had entered this year. So again, best player of her generation so far. Sabalenka gaining on it. You know, maybe you throw Ash Barty if you don't think she precedes it. But something that's weird, and she's, you know, we judge her against her own shadow on clay, which has been monstrous over the last 5 years, like Rafa-esque over the last 5 years. She's struggling on clay for the first time since 2020 when she broke through and won Roland Garros. Is that fair to say? Lost 1-1 to Coco and lost 5-1 to Danielle Collins, who's, you know, best service probably isn't clay. JW, are we sounding the alarm, or are we just kind of like, you know, whatever, she'll figure it out?
We're sounding the alarm.
Ooh.
Doesn't mean she won't figure it out. She has not reached a final since Roland Garros 2024. Really, 48 weeks since she's, never mind won a title. She hasn't even reached a final.
It's a big stat.
I think some of this is the results. Remember, she lost in Miami to Ayala. She's, you know, now it's like Coco seems to have gotten her number. Ostapenko has her number. Mira Andreeva has her number. It's not like she's losing to Sabalenka in the finals, you know, 6-4 in the third. I think there's a real crisis here. I think that some of this is the match results. Some of this is just, she doesn't project joy. And you just, I mean, we've seen social media posts, we've seen interviews, you see her, this stress welded to her face when she plays. So some of this is just the results haven't been there, but some of this also is the way she is projecting. I mean, my pet theory, hot take, is that this doping incident really impacted her. I think most people that look at the facts reach the conclusion this says a whole lot about the process and says very little about her ethics. I don't think a lot of people think that she did anything wrong. I think it's really impacted her. There's clearly some chaos in the camp. She's made an offseason coaching change. That didn't pay off. But no, this is a player who, she's going to be number 4, best case scenario. If Jasmine Paolini does not win Rome, Iga will be the 4th seed at Roland Garros. That's kind of jarring in itself. But more to me is she hasn't won a tournament since she won her 4th Roland Garros. It's been a rough 12 months, 11 months.
Yeah, and it's producer Mike, have you ever gone through a run of bad form and dropped to 4 in the world at something?
Yeah. No, actually, we're number 1 in podcasting.
Yeah, if we narrow down the descriptors enough, we're number 1 in something. Yeah,
narrow it really tight.
Yeah. Totally. No, listen, it's a strange thing when I feel the way when we do TC Live and it's like you're breaking down a Carlos match and you're offering some sort of criticism or adjustments to his game, right? Like, she's superseded my entire career in a single tournament, like by far, by like a multiple. But that's what we base any opinion of Iga against. In, you know, credit to her, it's almost like a weird form of flattery when we're sounding the alarm and she's 4 in the world. Right. So, but that being said, that's the reality of how we judge someone. You know, if, you know, Federer loses 4th round, it's like, you know, the end of the world. And if some hotshot 17-year-old prospect makes the 4th round, it's all ahead of you. So obviously there are different ways to look at it. But yeah, JW, I have a hard time thinking that the melatonin, you know, situation, it being announced very publicly, I think it's had a real effect on her. And, you know, she admitted that much when she released that social post right before Miami. It just feels like, you know, it feels like she looks like she feels the eyeballs and chatter. And honestly, I don't see too much of it. You know, I think that she complains about the Polish media, which, I'm sorry, if you're like a journalist, a sports journalist in Poland, and you're crushing Iga on a week-to-week basis, you're a fucking moron. You are. I'm sorry. Like, she's the greatest, sports person you've ever had. Counter that to the Italian press giving Jannik a standing ovation when he walks into the press room, which is also ridiculous, this week in Rome, right? If you're a Polish journalist and you are, making Iga's life really difficult and not throwing a parade every time she talks to you, you're a moron. It's amazing. And she's not playing that well, right? She's not playing that great. You mentioned the matchup against Coco. It used to be, as bad as me and Roger, right? And now Coco's gaining on it, and she's won the last couple, and she beat her 1-1 on clay. So that seems like it's turned a little bit. We haven't even gotten to the Sabalenka of things. It seems like it's turned a little bit. When she used to get to the semis of a slam, it was like close the door. Madison got her, and she played well against Madison. That was maybe the match. That Sabalenka Swiatek back to back were stunning matches. Everyone was kind of present for that. But it's weird. You mentioned the coaching change, and that's also a strange thing because Wim Fissette, before the show, it's like him as a well-regarded coach. That his track record is good and he's worked with a bunch of players. When we actually started going through, just so we kind of cross T's and dotted I's, with Kleisters when she returns slams, Sabine Lisicki got her to a Wimbledon final and beat Serena, Simona Halep in 2014, Victoria Azarenka in 15, Johanna Konta, and got her to the semis of her home slam at Wimbledon. Kerber, Grand Slam, Naomi in 2020. Zhang, and then this guy's been doing some frickin' work on the coaching side for 15 years. So it's an obvious play for Iga to hire Wim Fissette, and it just seems like they're searching for whatever reason, and I don't know enough about but what I do know, Iga's a Hall of Fame player, talent, all of the things, champion. Wim Fissette is that on the coaching side. And they're searching, such as sports. There's no script. There's no guarantees. You got to go out there and earn it every day. Are you putting her? I think Sabalenka is the favorite. I think she's gotten to the point where, it's that. I'm not saying she's Tiger Woods. I'm saying that Tiger Woods thing where would you take her or the field in most events that she enters right now? And I think that's a realistic conversation. That's the way the conversation's been at Roland Garros with Iga for a while. And you take Iga. John, do you think Iga's the second favorite at Roland Garros, or are we going further down the list right now?
It sounds crazy, right? I mean, she's won this 4 of the last 5 years. This is like, when you invest in a stock and you sort of look at, do you want to look at its long-term performance or do you want to look at its performance in the last 180 days? So sort of where do you draw these bands?
Is it before or after Liberation Day?
Today's Liberation Day, baby. You seen the market?
I'm sorry, Mike. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Anyways, sorry. Go ahead, JW.
Where were we? We need tariffs on tennis victories. Where were we? No, I don't know. I mean, I think, look, if you're coaching Iga, you say, listen, this is the event you've owned. You're the queen here. You have won this 4 of the last 5 years. I don't care what you've done the last 48 weeks. Your track record here speaks for itself. You go queen, go win a 5th. I think you could also look at this much more cynically and say, listen, I was
the player, but so your coaching advice is just go win this thing.
What? All right. Well, let's flip this on its head. What do you tell? I mean, this has been a rough patch, right? And your point is taken that listen, she's 4 in the world and she's only reaching major semis. We're still doing pretty well here, but this is not up to her standards. I mean, that's just math. What do you tell her? What do you tell a player that's really struggling for form and doesn't seem particularly happy on the court? What would your advice be?
Here's where I'm at. And Iga has that get on the front foot mentality. When she's playing well, she's smothering people, right? And she has the RPMs in the forehand. She doesn't hit run around. She kind of stands right, sets up right there in the middle and takes the ball on each side. It feels like when she is searching, she ups the aggression, right? It seems like she goes more. And I think that is tough. If I'm her coach, I'm trying to convince her you have enough on your ball all the time, right? Your backhand gets through the court. Your forehand, when you have time, is through the court. Maybe it's as simple as listen, when you're running to the forehand side, early on, big swings, and we're going to go back cross court. We're going to make people actually have to hurt you line, right? Use your wheels, use your movement. You can slide into the ball. Trust your weight of shot, right? Right now, it seems like she doesn't trust it, and therefore she's trying to go bigger and bigger and bigger. And you get to a Collins where all of a sudden Iga's inside the court and you're striking one ball and she's pushed back, right? So I would be centering around trust, and not different than what you say. It's just there has to be a process to just go win the tournament. Use your wheels, right? If anyone's struggling and they have the movement set that Iga Swiatek has, I would rely on that. Footwork is pretty recession proof as far as your game, right? Getting the right torque on your, shot selection definitely isn't. If your Achilles heel is when you go big on your forehand, her movement is great regardless. I don't think she needs to retrain her footwork at all. Trust your shot, trust weight of shot, make people work to beat you as opposed to kind of just committing errors. It's not totally different than what I saw with Carlos. One of the biggest stories of this week in Rome, aside from Sinner, what's Novak going to do? We're going to get to all that on the other side of the first break. But Carlos, I think he needs to rely on his wheels when he's not perfect. And it's impossible to talk to someone who's already won 4 slams and who has this uber aggressive mindset. But I think that saves him the losses to Gauff and the losses, early-ish for him in slams. I watched him go into like D mode against Jarrah yesterday, and literally the guy couldn't put a ball past him. He made him feel his speed and then all of a sudden it starts going and you're hitting winners without actually having to press. I'd like to see that a little bit from Iga, just trust in weight of shot. But it is crazy going into a clay tournament season and the warm-up events are all over and we're going, I don't know.
Well, she said as much, when asked if it was her coach was an issue, which she said like it was a very harsh and unfair statement.
Yeah.
But she said the worst results coincide with many other challenges in recent months, also in family life. I found myself at a stage in my career where I had to reformulate my thinking about myself. You have to take that into account when you're thinking about, is she the favorite for the French Open? Like if she's sitting here,
Mm-hmm.
It's not just footwork, right?
No, there's no. There's no, but yes.
Yeah.
She's saying it so that obviously all of this has an effect. I'm saying if we're going to start the walk towards a destination, in my opinion, it starts with her feet. It's something that isn't about ball striking. I want her focus on something that she's going to instantly feel confident with, right? Then it's weight of shot. The ball comes off your racket. It slings. Let's get some warm weather. Let's let that ball go. And if it's a soggy dog of a day, right? Let's have your quads win a match for you. Have your feet win a match for you. Take it away from balls and strikes and having to actually strike the ball perfectly. You get through 1 or 2 of those. Rafa was a genius at this. Genius. If he didn't have it where he's slinging that forehand and hitting winners, I'm going to make your day an absolute nightmare and you're going to have to hit 1 million balls. I don't know, Novak is the same. He'll play we hear that Novak lockdown. What does that mean? It means he knows he has his range. He knows he can slide into every shot. He knows his plan B is a complete pain in the ass because you can't get a ball past him. Confidence in settling into that plan B, even if it's imperfect, is where I would start with that walk towards a destination. Because that's something that after 1 or 2 practice days, I can settle into this. We're going to reset the floor. Now the ceiling, we're not even close to, but if I'm a coach, I would try to reset the floor and raise it a little bit. And also remember, she's not going to play someone 12 in the world. She's not going to play, a Danielle Collins in the first couple rounds of Roland Garros. She's going to have 2 matches where she can work her way into it, which is not like a master series or not like a, 1000 where second match you're playing someone who is also, most likely won big tournaments, right?
That's a great.
Sorry, when you talk about that, is something like this where would she be better off not getting a bye early on and like where she could get?
Maybe at a certain point. I mean, you see people, I don't know. That's like talking about the Easter Bunny to me.
Okay.
Just because it's like, we'll probably never, like when she gets to the point where she's not getting buys in tournaments, she'll probably stop. That's 32. So probably not. It's just, but to your point, like JW, if you're in her camp, are you entertaining a wild card in like a 250 next week? Are you getting matches?
That would be very voguish. That seems to have fallen in favor with a number of players. I don't know. I mean, I think that's a real tell to the field. I mean, we can talk in a bit about this Geneva field and Novak. I mean, Novak didn't play Rome. I think it's an awful big tell to the field that you're really lacking in confidence if you're a 4-time champion. It's an interesting. I mean, I don't know how badly she needs matches and how much of this is I just need to get her head right. I want to. You said something really important that I think we overlook too much. With 32 seeds, what does that mean? That means that if you are a top 32 player, you are guaranteed not to play anyone ranked higher than you until the third round. So she won't play a top. So I think we forget that point too often, whether it's Novak trying to get their footing. When you're a seeded player, you are guaranteed 2 matches of a player ranked lower than you. That's a big opportunity to sort of get your groove back. I always wonder about Iga. I remember talking to Steve Kerr once, and he had this whole riff about joy and how important joy is in sports, and there are no metrics and there are no analytics, but when Steph Curry's got a smile on his face and when the Warriors as a team are all sort of communicating and have a rapport going, it's a much different basketball team. One thing I've noticed about Iga is what happened to kind of the kooky conversations about what book she's reading? What happened to sort of the self-deprecating stories about she thought she was ordering X and the food instead was Y? We watched her practice a few months ago, and this was, I guess, was last year. But the coach and the sports psychologist barely had any communication during her practice session. It just seems as though there is this stress shrouding the whole enterprise, and it manifests when she plays. It manifests when she has social media posts that reference her anxiety. There just seems everything is so taut. I wonder how much you read into that, how much other players read into that, how fans should process this. It just. I mean, part of this, too, is contrast that with Sabalenka, who's posting it's funny dancing videos, and she's doing pranks, and she's like this YouTube queen, and she's giggling her way through trophy presentation ceremonies. Some of it is thrown into sharp relief by the number one player. But I'm concerned with Iga by the level of stress that she expresses on and off the court. What do you, former top player, read into that, if anything?
It's strange because I've said this before in this podcast. I think sometimes our biggest strengths are also oftentimes our biggest weaknesses. The fact that Iga had it figured out at 19 and Sabalenka is in her prime at 27, Iga has 4 years until she's at, if I'm wrong, then whatever. It's wrong by 4.5 years or 6 months or whatever it is. But she will have gone through another lifetime of tennis before she's Sabalenka's age, right? So it's weird. She had that focus early, and now I think expectation is tough, whereas Sabalenka had the expectations early that she didn't quite overcome. We saw her at 19, we're like, she's going to be a world beater, and it took her a minute. Right. And right now it's like opposite ends of the spectrum, with the expectation set involved, it's taking Iga a minute. So I don't know. It's easy to say now that Sabalenka is the way to go, but that would have been an insane conversation to have 4 years ago. It would have been a crazy take 4 years ago. And it's victim of the moment a little bit. I think the joy that's for sure. It seems like she's in a constant state of stress. It seems like we're in the point where, producer Mike, when we talked about the Brene Brown episode, it feels like it's relief when she wins. And it's like, that's what should happen. It's gotten to the point where, which is it has to be a really hard place to be. I was never there, but if you win a tournament, it's like, oh yeah, you were supposed to do that. That's a tough one, but I think she's giving too much air to all of us yahoos. Who have an opinion, right? She's more accomplished than everyone. And she name checked the Polish media. It's like, oh my God, you're giving them these exactly
what they want.
Yeah. These losers who live in their parents' basement, a mind share in your brain. It's a tough thing, but listen, bet against the greats at your own peril. She'll figure it out again at some point. I just don't know if she has enough time and reps. And that's another thing about these 2-week events. It's like she loses early. She has 2 full weeks. Do you know how long it feels to have 2 full weeks going into a major where you're not getting any match play? That's a long time. And you can practice as well as you want, but not for a second do you ever, play great in practice 2 days in a row and then go, you know what? I am fully confident I have it there, even though I haven't played well in any matches. Rafa talked about it. He's like, I was practicing great last year and I'd get out there and it wasn't quite the same. And I mean, if it can happen to Rafa, it can happen to anyone. But I hope she turns it around. It's a more fun conversation when she's in the mix at Roland Garros, and you feel like Sabalenka's trying to steal one from her there. But we'll see. Coco's playing great. She's definitely entered that conversation, pulling that forehand, not trying to hit inside outs and down the lines, punishing the ball cross court which also creates space up the line. The geometry of the rally she's getting is favorable. I thought it was really cool that Naomi Osaka went down a level and played a 125 somewhere that I can't,
Le Open 35 in France.
But goes and wins it, and then referenced Andre in 97 or 90, whatever it was, when he's flipping his own scoreboard the year after winning the Olympics, and a year and a half before he got back to number one in the world in Vegas, 140 something in the world, flipping his own scoreboard. I think it's a great move. I think you take a little bit of humble, and now she's stepping up and she's playing points on her terms again on a surface that doesn't benefit her. I think it's the best possible thing that she could have done. Respect for kind of putting ego aside. I have 4 slams, but I also, those aren't going to win me any points next week. So what can I do this week to affect next week? Props to her. I thought it was a great move.
Don't you love when Andre did that in 1997? I suspect he did not realize that 30 years later that would be seen as inspiration and something that players reference and emulate. Naomi also played that 125 in France on a surface that has not treated her well. This wasn't like she went to her backyard and got to sleep in her own bed. Lost today. We're going to timestamp this. 7-6 in the third to Peyton Stearns, who's good feisty former college players now won 2 straight matches, 7-6 in the third.
I like the way Peyton Stearns is playing. Dark horse of the French Open to make a run. Hired Blaz Kavcic in Madrid. So coaching change that is bearing results early. Sometimes a change. I like how she just goes and takes it on. She might get beat, but she is in there. She's in there throwing punches. I like Peyton Stearns a lot.
Cincinnati person.
There you go. Shout out.
Who day?
Danimal 2.0.
Yeah, she's got that bulldog. She got some fight in her. That was good. But even that aside, Naomi different than she was 3 weeks ago. I like the 125 play. Like Peyton Stearns. Also, I want to make sure we're responsible to kind of like the bigger storylines going into Roland Garros, right? How's Carlos looked? His movement looked phenomenal. He won his the match against Jarro with his legs. How's Sinner look? Listen, the draw was. If anyone's mad at him for it, as far as karmic forces, they didn't take it out on him with this draw. Navone is a really good player, but he's going to have time. He's up against De Jong. We're shooting it as Jannik's playing, I think. We shoot on Mondays and release on Tuesdays, but he's going to get his looks. He's entered, like a lot of players are entered in the events next week. We'll see how many come and go. Novak just took a wild card into Geneva. But I think Sinner looks good. I'm not super stressed about his form going into Roland Garros. Now we'll see if he gets an extended match, 5-setter, how that turns around. Practice reps are not match reps. Because oftentimes I can't imagine Jannik Sinner getting nervous and that having an effect on his body in practice. But I think as far as like the eye test early on in Rome, I think Carlos passes big time. I think Sinner passes big time. Carlos, literally, I was happy watching because obviously if he gets inside and starts throwing body blows and can uppercut and go like full Tyson, like late 80s, you don't have a chance, but he often needs to get to that position. He made the adjustment to rely on his legs. He is so fast. There is another route for him that he utilized against in the Jarro match at Rome where he was like, you're going to have to put the ball past me. And guess what? Ball wasn't going past him. Mixing up heights, adjusted return positions, all the things. Like if we're going to criticize and say, I wish he would have done this, let's give credit when he does. Went full confuse and conquer method, switched it up mid-match. Jarro was serving for the first set. Carlos flipped it, ran one going away. Was really exciting to watch. And it was no less dramatic, by the way. We kind of often make this thing where it's like, well, if he does that, it won't be as much fun to watch. Watching him cover the corners, I don't know. I'd make reservations to watch that. But so check this out. So oftentimes, like the top players don't like to play the week before a slam. I liked when I was playing well, I like to hopefully get a result, the last tournament I played, and then I like to get to the slam. I'd like to get used to the conditions, the cadence, the habit of going to the courts, timing out how long it takes to get there, kind of dialing in your groove. That's what I like to do. It's what a lot of the top players like to do. How's this for an entry list in Hamburg the week before the French Open? So they could be playing a final on a Saturday and a first round in Roland Garros or the French Open on a Monday. Sinner, who, by the way, if he makes the semis in Italian Open, I'll bet anyone $20 that he will not play Hamburg. Musetti, he's gotten a lot of matches in. We'll see if that holds. Rune, I bet will play because he took a pretty average loss to Mutet, who competed his ass off, by the way. Tommy Paul, I don't know. He's over there. He's like, I'll give it a rip. Tiafoe, Rublev, Cerundolo, Tsitsipas. These are guys that have played the entire clay court season, and they're adding another week. Not surprising to see Taylor Fritz in Geneva because he kind of just plays whenever there's a tournament to be played. Casper Ruud. If you win Madrid, go deep in Rome. I don't know. Like if I'm dad, I'm going, I think we're good. Dimitrov, Mahach. Novak takes a wild card into Geneva. I think it's the right call. And I'm going to preface this with, I get everything wrong about Novak every time. Every time. What would make sense to me is maybe he, in his movement, didn't look great in Monte Carlo and Madrid. He wasn't kind of fighting off one more ball. It feels like when he got stretched, he got exposed to the other side. I'm guessing they went and just did a ton of leg work, a ton of 2-on-1s. Let's get those legs set. So like we were talking about with Iga and like we were talking about with Carlos, Novak is the master, along with Rafa, at using your legs to find your best tennis. Getting reps, making people play through you, asking the question, and then all of a sudden by round 2, 3, 4, the ball's flying off your racket, the forehands are happening, the winners are happening. I got to think from that loss to Arnaldi in Madrid, and maybe this is one of the benefits for Novak of every tournament lasting a full weather season. He could go find his legs. It's been like 3 weeks between events. It's absurd. I think it's good for him to go to Geneva. I think it's a weaker field. His first couple rounds, he's not going to pull a Berrettini or someone first round. So I like this move from Novak. I think he has to have some matches going into Roland Garros. He knows that venue, that place backwards. It's not as important for him to be on site as it would be for someone else. Do you like this move? Are you surprised by this move? I was not that surprised by it.
No, I mean, remember he did this last year too, right? Not dissimilar set of circumstances, and he goes to Geneva, wins a couple matches. I think he lost to Mahach, who's kind of a streaky player, but mission accomplished, right? He got some matches in, he won a few matches, and then he goes to Roland Garros and he looked really good. Even that match where he suffered the knee injury, remember, he beat Cerundolo and won that match. So it served its purpose last year. I mean, I think one thing that people might not always realize are the distances here in Europe. Geneva to Paris is like two hours and 2.5 hours on the train, or like a 50-minute flight.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it too. It's not like you're flying across a country. And I think these weeks between the majors, sometimes these tournaments, people like, as you say, people like to take the week off. The US Open, you come, you do your sponsor appearances, you get to hit at the tennis center, you get used to New York. But also these events can pick up players in need of matches. Yep. And they're, we would be naive to overlook I don't think Novak's motivated by this. In some cases, there are appearance fees. And I think it's also, we talk about these 12-day masters. If you're Taylor Fritz and you lose early in Rome, do you fly back to the U.S.?
It's a nightmare. I've been
9 hours of time difference and long flights and all the crap that comes with traveling for a week. Or do you stick it out in Europe? Well, if you stick it out in Europe, Jess Pegula is another example. Jess Pegula lost Saturday. It's 2 weeks before Roland Garros, but she really want to fly back to the U.S., though? Probably not. So stick around and get in some matches, and then know that if you have to get from Hamburg or Geneva to Paris, you can do it in 2 hours.
Yeah, these are all the kind of gymnastics that you walk through. And I took a couple before the U.S. Open a couple times, and before the French Open a couple times. I took a couple panic wildcards, right? You get hurt in the summer, you don't play well. All of a sudden, you've had 2 matches in a month, to your point, JW, and all of a sudden, Winston-Salem starts looking real good as an option to kind of find some form. But I saw the draws, and actually Jim Courier sent them in an email when we were prepping for TC Live the other day. These events are stacked, as stacked as I remember seeing for players going into a Grand Slam, and a lot of them are players that have actually been playing well. You look at Ruud, Rune won in Barcelona, Cerundolo, Tsitsipas has played a heavy slate of events. But I guess, if you are those, you also realize, Tsitsipas is kind of close to dropping out of the top 20. He's got to go put points on the board. Oof. It's not even just Roland Garros to bust. He's kind of playing into, I'd like to be seated in the top 16 of, events for the rest of the season. So, a lot of questions answered. We'll see how Rome plays out, but I'm not as worried about how Carlos does quarters or finals. Like, he's probably still the favorite at Roland Garros. Was very curious to see how his movement. He didn't think twice about sprinting for a ball. Like, he was on it. So, unless there's something that happens again or he re-aggravates something, he was going 0 to 60 pretty quick. I love what you've seen from Sinner. The draw was nice. He didn't have to play some, awkward Pecci Pericard, Opelka, Berrettini just hitting bombs at you. So that was good for him. What's up, JW?
You want a Sinner hot take?
Yeah.
When that sanction, when his plea bargain was presented, I think a lot of people, us included, said, well, he doesn't miss a major, and this guy wins in Australia, and he'll serve his 90 days, but he's back in time for Roland Garros. I think what might be more significant is that his first tournament back was in Rome, didn't play it last year. Italian player who's won 3 majors in the interim. That was a really warm reception. And regardless of how you feel about him and the circumstances of his case, a guy returning from a 90-day anti-doping sanction, there's some stress, there's some pressure. Who knows how a crowd anywhere other than your home country will respond to that? I think it's really relevant that he got such a soft landing, and he got this, his practice was before he even played his first match. He got a very warm reception when he went out for his first public practice. I think this is something we may have overlooked, that for a guy who had some potentially really tricky circumstances surrounding his return, the fact that he got to do so in such a hospitable place, I think is something we should be talking about.
Yeah, I will tell you, as you're walking through that, all I can think of is Roland Garros in the French Open. They'll boo their mother's cooking there. They'll
I think he's embracing it. I think he's in all black. He's like, there's all the Darth Vader memes.
That's fine. But
I love it.
Whatever the warm and fuzzies are in Rome,
yeah,
you get sideways with the French crowd, like boo, just boo you. Like, like to boo someone at a sporting event, they have to do something pretty gross. Here, it's like you gotta you catch like the ball from the ball kid the wrong way. So all of those warm and fuzzies will probably go by the wayside, but I think that it's good for him to kick the tires before. I went on way too long, but let's get to a quick break. I'm going to give you 2 names, one on the men's side, one on the women's side, who I think should be way higher in the Roland Garros odds on the other side. All right, welcome back. I got a couple names for you guys. We do these on TC Live. We do they show the odds, right, for who's never on that first page of odds, who should be on the first page of odds because he's been playing great and he can absolutely bully people. Arthur Fils is an animal. He creates so much speed. He has a big boy body. He's beaten Tsitsipas on clay a bunch of he should be. If he's not in the top 10 on your site, then I don't think your site knows what they're talking about. Another one, sneaky one, that's going to end up in like the quarters or the round of 16, semis, something. Kostyuk is playing really well right now, and she caught Sabalenka in the quarters. She gave Sabalenka her toughest match in Madrid. She's now has to play Sabalenka again. I don't know I think it's sometime today, which is Monday. She's playing really well. If she gets a soft draw, she's going to make a move at Roland Garros. Is that crazy, JW, or is everyone else crazy?
Oh, I like those. What do we make of the fact? I got 2 Arthur Fils adjacent questions. One of them is French player playing in Paris. He'll be the highest ranked. He's higher than Humbert right now. He'll be the highest ranked French player. There's attention. I don't have in front of me. I don't believe he's ever won a match at Roland Garros. Do we worry about the pressure that comes with being the French player at the French event?
Yes, it's an unknown. I mean, Amélie Mauresmo is phenomenal, 2-time Slam winner, and she admitted, now the tournament director, she had a hard time playing there. She comes in as the 2 or 3 seed, sometimes the 1 seed every year. And yeah, it's definitely a real thing. I mean, Murray had to deal with it so much. I think being successful at your home slam is very difficult. Fils seems to like to engage. He seems to be pretty, you don't really have to wonder what he's thinking. A la Monfils, I think they're going to eat him up if he starts playing well. But yeah, I do think that's something that we need to watch. It's past like the balls and strikes that I was just talking about and kind of just game on game. Tough to predict. It seems like he has the personality for it, but you never know. But I think that's a really good point. All
right, you mentioned that personality. You probably caught him after he beat Tsitsipas, and they had a moment at the net. They had a summit. I'm still not sure. I've read like 3 different versions, and I'm not sure anyone authoritatively, definitively said what happened. But apparently, something had to do also with a body shot. We had a body shot last month with Ben Shelton and Vavasori.
Oh yeah,
can you just kind of give us
that fractured his ribs? You
a rib fracturing body shot.
See, I don't. I we're going to get to the. I'm going to let you describe the Fils one in a second, but the doubles one where Ben hit a guy with a swinging forehand. He was 3 feet in front of the baseline. That's not out of bounds. I'm sorry. Like someone hits a forehand, your job is to have quick hands, and they peg you up in your ribs, and then you pull out of the next week. You say you have broken ribs. By the way, do either of you know the standard amount of time it takes for broken ribs to heal?
No.
6 to 8 weeks.
Ooh.
Do you want to know how many days it took after one? I don't think you can break someone's ribs with a tennis ball. I'm just going to say it. I've never seen it.
Not at that distance.
Bullshit.
Not at that distance.
Bullshit. Guy was back in 10 days. He didn't have fucking broken ribs. Anyways, go finish and then tell us about the Tsitsipas and Fils thing.
No, keep because honestly, I didn't even see. I mean, I've only read these accounts. My question to you is, can you just kind of give us the breaches of protocol? Can you give us the rules of the road for body shots? When are you right to be pissed off? Because I think most of the time you hold up a hand and it's a fair play to go down the middle. And I think fans would be interested to know when have we crossed a line and what's acceptable and what isn't.
I think the only time that it's crossing the line is if you're in doubles and the ball is like a floater and you have like a sitting overhead that's bounced and you're 5 feet from the net. And I've seen guys kind of like turn their back where you can literally hit it anywhere. Like they've given up on the point. If you tee someone up there, it's within the rules, but like that would get my attention a little bit. Also, I probably wouldn't turn my back, so it's kind of self-inflicted. I don't want to hear about people getting hit. Like, and Fils, to his credit, by the way, because I've done this a million times and I'm a prick for doing it. But he goes, I needed energy. He goes, I needed something. I was getting beat 2-2. Like Steph was killing me. He basically did the McEnroe and bluffed some sort of energy, became an energy vacuum. And then started getting the crowd into it. And at the end, he just said he didn't have an issue with it. Like he's like, he teed me up and he should have. And it wasn't like Steph didn't take a cheap shot at all. Like I would have had an issue if Fils would have defended being pissed about it.
Like if he would have kept it up.
He basically just said, I used it as like an energy source and kind of tried to throw a wedge into the match and change the energy. And he goes, and it worked. I have no issue. And also stop whining if you get hit. Can we stop with this? Like you can be mad, you can be pissed. Like no one likes getting teed up, but don't act like someone's doing something wrong. Ben Shelton did 0 wrong. And when he said like, that's soft, he was absolutely right.
What a great reply.
I teed up a guy harder in Dingles today. Like he was 57. Sorry.
Elderly abuse.
I'm sorry. Are we playing sports? Like we're not going to get over the soft labels in tennis if we're getting hit by a felt ball. Like, whatever, like you can't break. I've hit people 120 mile an hour before, like overheads. You can't break ribs. And if you do break a rib, it's not, get out of here for 8 weeks. I don't know. It's like everyone's obsessed with it. People get chippy. I don't think there's going to be an issue with Fils and Tsitsipas like next week in the locker room.
No, it seems like it's passed completely.
I think 6 months from now, they're going to laugh about it. I think when Tsitsipas has a podcast in 10 years, he's going to laugh about it and tell you like what the actual thing and what happened. But I like if you're playing doubles and someone tees you up from the baseline, get over it. Get over it. Don't get hit. Someone tees me up from the baseline, that's my fault. What about you, JW? A little heavy-handed by me?
I want no. I mean, I think there are all these. I think you're right. I mean,
baby.
I think a guy concedes the point and throws his arms up and turns their back to the net. You don't want to drill him. But other than that, I'd say 19 times out of 20, it's a fair play. I do want maybe Mike in the show notes can link Andy versus Darren Ravel. Remember that? Did you not break his ribs?
We'll do that.
I didn't break his ribs. And Jay and Dan I used to do the show on Fox Sports Live. I teed them up too for bits. I'm sorry if like if Darren Ravel can take a peg from me, then professional athletes should be able to take a peg from me. If you were to be like, whose ribs would you break? I'd be like, probably Darren Ravel's.
Darren Ravel.
Yeah, his ribs look breakable. Yeah, I don't know. I just like, let's get over this. This like, right. And by the way, what's his Vavasori? He hit them twice that set. After he got pissed at Ben, he had picked them off twice that set. Fuck out of here. Give me a break. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll be in a better mood next time. Actually, no, we got a bunch of announcements to make.
Yeah, we got announcements. We're launching our newsletter this week. It'll drop with this episode. You can find it on our website. Go sign up. Link in the show notes, Linktree, all the good places.
What's a link? What's a link tree?
That's a question for Sophie.
Great.
It's a tree of links.
Moving on.
Check out the show description for that. We're still formulating our idea to give away your shoes, and I think we have a really good idea that we'll announce with our draw show.
We haven't done that yet?
No. It's going to run through the French Open.
Okay.
But we'll let you know. Sign up for the Chuckers Club. Find the membership program on YouTube.
I got bigger news.
What?
Do the Chuckers Club. Oh, I was talking about doing Eubanks was in town last week, and we were hitting some.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking we might start dropping like some hidden shows for the Chuckers.
Ooh, I like that.
Like the top five lists. Eubanks was getting all into it. He was arguing with me at dinner. We're going to turn this thing into like First Take. Just scream at each other.
Yeah. When I think of Chris Eubanks, I think of screaming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I could promise you if Eubanks and I got in a fight, I know exactly whose fault it is.
Yeah.
It's my fault.
100%.
I got big news though. I don't even know if JW knows about this yet. Guess who will release the second Tuesday of the French Open.
June 3rd.
Interview.
Oh.
In person.
Will he be working for TNT?
He will be. And he's my idol. So this is kind of a cool moment for me.
He's right there on the board.
Over
your shoulder.
Where is he? Look at the old Moulet right there. Andre Agassi going to join the show. We're going to drive down and do that. I'm pumped.
So excited for that.
That could be our Springsteen show. That could be a 2.5 hour show.
I know they gave us like a 4-hour block, and I'm like, we're going to use every minute.
He wants to rip it up, and it'll be cool because he's going to have something to promote and announce, which will come out in the next couple weeks, and then he'll go we'll shoot that on Monday. Quick turnaround time for you, Techie Sean. Good luck. That'll be out Tuesday morning, and then he's flying over and doing the last 4 days of coverage on TNT, which is great. There are few people that I want to listen to break down X's and O's in someone's habits more than Andre Agassi.
I'm excited to see what TNT does.
I hope they use him like they should. I hope it's going to be pretty cool. I like that they're bringing Venus into the fold. They're bringing Andre into the fold. I think I think it's great. But I'm pumped for that interview. That's going to be one where I'm going to have butterflies going in just because you don't want to get it wrong. How many times do you get to interview your idol? Imagine how important someone is if they have you wearing hot pink spandex. It's like a life moment.
It's awesome.
Anyways, that'll be cool. So thank you for listening. We'll have a recap next week. Maybe we'll do some Q&A. Maybe we'll do some questions. What do we have next week?
Yeah, maybe. JW is out of town on us. He's got a personal. You have graduation, right, JW? So we're going to find something.
Tell us about that.
Daughter's college graduation. That's an excused absence, right?
It's excused. You're excused.
I was going to do that, but then it turns out I wasn't that smart. Congrats, JW. In all seriousness, congrats. Enjoy. We'll figure out someone to come on. Maybe we'll bring Kim in.
Maybe we'll call you back.
Oh, we should talk about maybe we'll get Eubanks. He'll be playing qualies maybe. Talk about Laval.
Oh yeah.
With Kim and Sophie.
My flight got canceled because of all the weather flying in, but Sophie was able to go up. We sat down with one Hannah Berner in New York, and Kim and her had an awesome time talking. I think I didn't realize how good she was at the collegiate level. Like she was number one at Wisconsin.
Yeah, Hannah Berner, she owned Netflix special, huge comedian, podcaster, reality. Like she's doing this whole new media thing. She is an absolute star, but played number one at Wisconsin.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really good. But even just like she talks about her like writing bits, right? She's like, it's easier for me to write about my husband and a bit about my husband than it is for tennis. She's like, it's still too raw. Like,
really?
She still misses it so much. And now she's, doing stuff with Lululemon. She has sponsorships with racket companies. It's
crazy.
It's cool.
Give her 10 years and she'll be able to write a book about, matches she played when she was 11, like Costa.
She brought him up. They actually hit together early in her career. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all the news for now. Go check out Love All. I'm pumped for the Andre episode coming up. We'll figure out what the hell we're doing next week. We'll bring someone in. It'll be fun. JW, have a good week. Congrats on the graduation, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for listening and watching. Sir, was I too hard on when someone gets pegged?
No, that was good.
All right. See ya.
That was good. See you later.
All right, okay.
No
Bye.
broken ribs.
Bye.